Okay, hello everyone. So it is just 7 o'clock. I'm going to give um, people a few more minutes as they filter in. I hope you don't mind. I promise this isn't, it's not going to take the full hour. Last week it was only like a half hour long, and I suspect that this week will be too, unless you guys have a lot of questions. So um, just give people a few minutes. If you could put in the chat where you are from, that would be really interesting to me. I would love to see where you all are right now. See how many miles we span. Wow. Very cool. So we have some people from pretty far away, actually. And I saw in the registration that a lot of you, this is the first time taking a class with us, which is super cool. I hope that you enjoy this series and you've had a chance to look around the university and find other things that we offer that you can take part in too. We have so many things going on and so many ideas of things that we want to get up there. We just can't get them up fast enough. It's only so many hours in the day to be recording and editing and all of that while also doing live classes. So, okay. Oh, we got a few more people. All right. If you could also put in the chat whether or not you participated or watched last week's, the first in our series. If you could go ahead and do that, that would be really helpful for me to see where everybody is, because these do kind of build on each other. So if you haven't yet watched the first one, I highly recommend you go back and watch that as soon as we're done here. It's up there, the recording's up so that you can see that. We talked about what healthy actually means, how to redefine health, and how to destigmatize our bodies. We have been so ingrained in this diet culture and it's not healthy. And we have these ideas in our head of what healthy looks like. And it's not, number one, it's not healthy. It's not true. And number two, it's not realistic for 99% of the people. So that's our baseline. That's where we're going to start. The weight loss industry is massive, and they are making so much money off of brainwashing us into thinking that that is the standard of health. And it's not, because if it was, we would have found success by now. There's so many diets, there's so many weight loss programs that people are dumping money into, and 95% of them fail. So it's not working. All right, I'm gonna let these couple people in. Hello, hello, welcome. All right, let's get started. So tonight our topic is prioritizing your health and creating healthy habits that last. So I know it's that time of year where so many of us have made New Year's resolutions, and we, whether it's for health, weight loss, whatever, it could be a million different things of what we're trying to change our habits for our mental health, our physical health. And most people end up failing. Oops, I'm sorry. This is kind of getting ahead of us here. Most people end up failing not too far into the year, and it's because they didn't use science to help them build those habits. So we're going to talk about that tonight and how we can use science to create habits that are going to stick with us for the rest of our life. They are going to become part of who we are. Okay. So tonight, these are the things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to discuss habits being the key to our lifelong health. We are our habits, and why are healthy habits so hard to stick to? Like I just said previously, every single one of us has that in common. We have tried to change something about ourselves. We've had a goal and we've tried to establish a habit to reach that goal, and we have failed, right? And then a review of our current habits, and then how to create successful new habits. So that's the outline of what we're going to talk about tonight. So the definition of a habit is a settled or regular tendency to practice, especially one that is hard to give up. So most of us have some negative habits. Maybe that's on your list. Maybe that was your New Year's resolution to stop doing something that you attribute to being a negative habit that's having a negative impact on your life in some way. But we also have healthy habits. We have things that we don't even realize that we do every single day. And they're just a part of our existence, part of our living. And our habits literally are our lives. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So creating healthy habits that stick with you for your life is ultimately the goal. It's not that long-standing goal that feels so unattainable. It is more about creating these small micro habits that become a part of your life that you can't imagine not doing, that you just do without thinking. And that repetition is what creates our life. That is who we are. I can't stress that enough. So we need to take the focus off of that big thing down the road and start focusing on tiny little things. Those tiny little things will build, and eventually you will probably reach that big goal, or you may decide that that wasn't the objective after all, that there was something else that was even better. But it's those little habits along the way that actually create our life. Okay. How many of you, so put it in the chat, how many of you have ever tried to break a bad habit? I have. So I'm going to put in the chat what mine have been. Yeah, I see some similar. So for me, for those of you who aren't present that are watching the recording, for me, a current bad habit that I have is social media. I'm on it more than I want to be. I'm actually not on it too much, not as much as a lot of other people that I know, but it still has a way of creeping in, and I lose time in that, and I lose focus. I want to be better about not having that around me and being more efficient and focused on tasks that I want to complete, which will help drive me to those goals that I have, those little habits. So that's one of my bad habits. Another bad habit, I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I do consume coffee in the morning. I really like it. It's part of my ritual. I used to drink way too much coffee. And that was a habit that I was able to break. I think COVID had a lot to do with it, because the demands of my time went down, and I was able to only fill that back up with things that I wanted to, instead of getting lost in the hustle and bustle again. So I no longer felt like I needed that caffeine to make it through the day, which was a good thing. So that was very helpful in me breaking that habit. Some other bad habits, maybe, I didn't put this in the chat, but with mental health, like always putting the blame and shame on myself before really actually analyzing a situation and thinking about it and becoming reactive towards myself. So learning to be more loving and present um, to myself in a habit that I've needed to switch, turning it from a negative to a positive. And that's been really difficult. So our brains are wired for reward. Okay. That's why habits stick. Some habits stick because there's a reward involved, and that is in the form of dopamine releases in our brains. So there is actual science behind why we do the things that we do. Like, um, my social media habit, every time you start scrolling, it's mindless, so it's numbing. So if you're uncomfortable in a situation, if I'm doing a project that's really hard and I take like a mental break and I'm scrolling, it's mind numbing. And then if there's likes or comments or all of those things are instant rewards that trigger our dopamine, our release of dopamine in our brain. And that's true for any of your habits. So whether it's food actually is the biggest one because it creates a chemical reaction in your brain. You have not only the dopamine, but serotonin and all kinds of pleasure chemicals that are being released and flooding your body, and it becomes very addictive. And we have to eat every day. So you're not avoiding it. There's, you have family meals, you have friends that get together, you have barbecues and gatherings and celebrations, and all of that always revolves around food. So if you are stuck in that loop of a food addiction, it becomes really, really tricky to navigate and to lose those habits, which a lot of us are falling off of after the holidays, right? So that's what we're feeling. We're beating ourselves up for being in these situations where we lost control, right? And we weren't as good as we wanted to be or thought we should be, or whatever that weird messaging is. But those are really difficult situations because if you look at the food that's typically served around holidays, they're all the foods that dump the dopamine and serotonin into your body and flood your brain with all of these rewards. And it becomes really difficult to undo that. We're gung-ho in January, but it's really tricky. And add to that the, guilt and shame. And it's hard. So one of the lies that we tell ourselves, again, like I just was talking about, is I have no self-control. That is a lie that we tell ourselves. And it's when you set yourself up for failure, right? Like you have gone to these places, now that scientifically your body is wired for reward and it seeks reward. Okay. It's always going to seek pleasure and reward. And that's your go-to. So telling yourself that you have no self-control is ridiculous. You can only have so much control for so long. Okay. If you're continually submersed in a situation where those things are going to be around you, a person can only say no for so long, and you become fixated on it. There's no room for anything else in your brain because you're constantly trying to practice self-control over that particular thing. So there's no room for anything else because you're telling yourself to avoid that and to restrict. Okay, so what if we used science to create those lifelong healthy habits? What would that look like? What do you think? I'm sure people are starting to get, yes, So we have in the comments, how do we use this evil power for good? Yeah. So that's hopefully what we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm going to set you guys up for success when you start thinking about these new habits. Okay. So let's work backwards. Okay. So I want you to first think about what your health goals are. So we're going to focus on health. Okay. And this could be mental health, it could be physical health. Doesn't matter. I don't differentiate. You are all one body. So it's all one thing to me and it's interconnected. So what health goals do you have at the moment? All right. Put it in the chat. Okay. So we have a lot. I'm going to ask you to get to move away from that weight. Okay. So a lot of you are putting in there, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 50 pounds. I want you to move away from that. I want you to start visualizing what it is about that that's in your mind. Okay. So you are obviously attributing losing that weight with some sort of outcome, and that is your goal. It is not the weight loss, okay? I want you to reframe your thinking because sometimes those goals can be obtained without that loss or with, you know, greater weight loss, whatever. The number doesn't matter, okay? So maybe your goal is that you want to be able to run a half marathon, or maybe you just want to be able to walk up the stairs without losing your breath, or maybe you have pre-diabetes and you want to get that under control. Whatever those goals, yeah, okay. So I have a couple, one diabetic, I have pre-diabetes, keeping up with my grandchildren. I want to live a long life. Okay. All right. So do you see the difference between having a weight loss goal and then having an actual health outcome goal? They're two very different things. They're very distinct, very different. While weight loss may lead to that, that's not your ultimate goal. Okay. And I really want you to dig down as to why it is that you have a number in your head and what that means to you. And I want you to then go back and watch the first one in this series again, so that maybe it lands a little bit differently in this new thought. Okay. Okay. Now we need to examine what current habits do you have that you do every single day that you probably don't even give thought to. So this picture, there's, you know, someone brushing your teeth. I would assume that we all do that every day, hopefully at least twice a day. And it's part of your habit. Maybe you're like me and you make a cup of coffee in the morning and that's part of your morning routine. Perhaps you shower in the morning, or maybe it's at night. Whichever one of those you do, that's probably something you do pretty regularly. And what else? There could be things that you have to do in your household, like you do the dishes, or, you know, chores like that. Maybe you're in charge of the dishes, you're in charge of bringing out the garbage or doing some laundry or vacuuming, whatever those regular chores might be. Think about those. Let's list put in the chat all of the current habits that you have that are happening every day. Okay. So if you could put at least 3 in there. Okay. Everyone has something that they do every day. I know for me, I get up, I make my bed first thing. And then I make my coffee. I sit and have my coffee while I brush my elderly cat who can no longer groom himself properly. And then I brush my teeth and get ready for my day. Okay, so that's my morning routine. I have a routine at nighttime too that helps me settle down. My days tend to be a little different and scattered and not a regular routine. But okay, so we have a lot of those similar things. So showering, making coffee, a couple of you are tea drinkers. That's excellent. Breakfast, smoothie in the morning. Okay. All right, perfect. And if those are things that you do, I don't want you to put in there something that's not quite an established habit yet. I want this to be things that you do without thinking about it, that you've done for a long period of time. Okay. All right. So we already did this. I already had to do this. I skipped ahead, I guess. Okay. So listing all of your health goals. And your list can be longer when you get off of this. I would encourage you to journal and write down as many goals, mental and physical health goals that you have. Okay. Okay. Now, now I want you to translate that. I want you to narrow that. So you have this big goal. What are the small, tiny little steps that you need to do to reach that goal? So someone had put in the chat that they wanted to bring down their A1C. So for those of you who don't know, A1C is an indicator of long-term levels of glucose in your blood. Okay, so lowering that is an indication that you are better controlling your blood sugar over a long period of time. So that is an excellent goal. So lowering your A1C. Now, what do you need to do in order to reach that? Okay, so you need to think about that. What is one small habit that you could do to get you there? If you repeat that one small habit every single day. Now, here's the thing that I want to stress here, okay? I do not want any anti-habits, okay? So if there's something that you're doing right now that is impeding on that goal, okay, there probably is. There's probably several, right? You probably are having a diet that's too high in sugar. Let's just say, for example, one, or you are more sedentary than you ought to be. Probably have a desk job or something like that. Um, those are established habits that you have right now. And I don't want you to come at this in a negative way and say, I'm going to stop eating sugar. I'm going to stop sitting for long periods of time. That is not something that we want to put in here. Okay. We are adding on, okay, we are adding on small habits into our day that are positive. And eventually down the road, the more of those you add, the less space there will be for all of those negative habits. And you'll start to see rewards, right? So we are based on rewards. So if you start taking away something or coming at something in a negative way, that reward center is not activated, like we talked about before. And that is not going to be something that's going to be sustainable. So this habit that you have right now is sustainable and it's stuck with you because it was producing a reward. Okay. So you need to honor that and add more positive habits along the way that are going to light up that same part of your brain so that eventually they take over and they replace those negative habits with positive habits. Okay. That is the goal. That is how you become successful long term. This isn't a quick fix. I'm not saying that you're going to get your A1C numbers down, at your next visit. That might not be the case. It may be longer term than that. But the more positive things that you can add in your day, the better off you're going to be in the big picture. Okay. So think about that. I'm looking in the chat. Sorry, I got behind because I was talking. Yes, so back to the A1C example, we have, okay, so you're going to eat breakfast every day, okay? Eat breakfast every day when you're having your coffee, okay? And you are going to walk every evening, okay? That is perfect, okay. So we already did this. We listed the habits that you do every single day right now without thought. Okay, so now you have this new habit that you want to incorporate, and you have a list of habits that you do every single day right now without even thinking about it. Now, the next thing you want to do is to stack that habit. Okay, this is key. So if you want to move more, maybe you do some squats and some wall push-ups or tub push-ups while you wait for the water to warm up before your shower. Or maybe you do jumping jacks while you wait for your coffee to brew. You know, there's a lot of things that you can stack in there on a habit that you already have. Okay. When you're brushing your teeth, you know, you can do some positive self-talk to set you up for the day or for the night, whatever time of day you're brushing your teeth. You can, you know, be your biggest cheerleader. That's huge. That's a big asset to have. So, and then the eating the breakfast, you had already said that you were going to stack that with your coffee. So you're already drinking coffee in the morning. You're going to make sure that you have a healthy breakfast with that. That's great. The key with that was to be realistic. Like, what are you really going to do every single day? Okay. Now you're going to commit to this new stacked habit for a minimum of 21 days. So science shows that 21 days or 3 weeks is the minimum amount of time required to create an actual habit. I think it probably takes longer than that. It's easy to revert back when it's been like a lifelong habit. So until you internalize it and it becomes a part of you, instead of you thinking that it's something that you need to change, right? Like if you're still focused on, oh, I have to remember to do that, I have to add that in, then it's not an established habit yet, right? Because you know that before you get into bed, you're going to brush your teeth. And you know that after after a long day at work, you're going to hop in the shower, or you know that you are going to eat dinner at 6 o'clock. These are things that you do without really giving much thought to. And until those other habits are right up alongside that, then I tend to think that they're not really established habits yet. Like you have to identify with them. They have to be a part of who you are and who you believe yourself to be before you can claim them as habits, because then it's easy to slide out of those. Like how many times have you thought you've been in the habit of going to the gym or, doing whatever this thing is that you wanted to achieve, only to suddenly have a disruption and you slide right out of that so easily, right? So I want to make sure that you're framing it right in your mind and that you're not setting yourself up for failure. So maybe for a while you need to continually have reminders, and you need to make sure that you have post-it notes on the mirror reminding you and pumping you up for it, so that you don't feel ashamed if you miss it. Allow yourself to have a day, like, gosh, there have been several times when you've been just too tired to brush your teeth before you go to bed and you fell asleep. Did you shame yourself about it? No, you were probably like, oh, forgot to brush my teeth, or I was too tired. I got to make sure I do a good job in the morning, or, like whatever it is. So I want you to think of your other habits in that same light, because if you start shaming yourself for not having done it, it's a lot harder to get back into it because you feel like you're a failure. You didn't do it. You're no good. And that whole spiral happens. Okay. All right. So I want you to practice again those 5 things, establishing a habit, and we'll talk about it next week. Are you guys excited about this? Yeah. Okay. If you could put in the chat, like if this was something new to you, if you hadn't thought about it in this way, if you're excited, what's the first habit that you're going to tackle in this next week before I see you? Hmm. All right. So we've got some that are focused on food, some that are, we've got quite a few that are focused on mental health. I think that's really big right now. I think all of us need like this reset. It's been a tough start to 2022. And yeah, I feel that. Um, okay. And we've got some that we've got food, we've got exercise, and we have mental health. That's perfect. That's great. This is a great mix, you guys. So I can't wait to hear about your wins next week. And next week, our topic is how your lifestyle dictates your mental health. So perfect, especially for all of you that is your focus. Mental health is huge. That's like one of the biggest parts of whether or not you're going to be successful. And there are some real tangible things that we can do in our lives that help set us up for success. So, and I want nothing more than all of you to be successful in this journey and get out of this whole diet culture and weight loss cycle and really start thinking about what good health is. So I hope you found this helpful, and please share it. The recording should be done later tonight. I definitely will have it up by tomorrow as a recording. So please invite your friends. If you found this helpful, invite them to come watch it and join you for the next week. Okay. I look forward to seeing all of you. Good night.